After the success of The Elephant Man, Lynch began to gain attention from other filmmakers, even receiving an offer from George Lucas to direct Star Wars Episode VI, Return of the Jedi, which he ultimately turned down. However, he was soon ready to take on what was arguably his most ambitious project, and 4 years later, armed with a large budget, he released his next feature film. Dune was both a critical and commercial failure at the box office. Unfortunately, that is not entirely unjustified. Despite an impressive all-star cast as well as visuals that, while not always perfect, are quite good for the most part, the movie is incredibly flawed, largely due to plot holes and underdeveloped characters that come from the efforts to compress a long novel into 2.5 hours. Following the box office failure of Dune, Lynch managed to win back his audiences with the bizarre film that is Blue Velvet. This film, in a way, combines the surreal nature of Eraserhead with the more straightforward style of The Elephant Man, providing a coherent but immensely bizarre narrative featuring Dennis Hopper as a sex-crazed psychopath who delivers arguably some of the most popular lines in a David Lynch film.
What kind of beer do you like? Heineken? Fuck that shit! Pabst Blue Ribbon!
The early ideas for Blue Velvet were red lips, green lawns, and the Bobby Vinton song Blue Velvet.
I liked the script initially. I read it. It was very charged. Subject matter was very, very tense and very erotic, I think, and frightening.
His next film, Wild at Heart, brings about a very strange, over-the-top road movie, in which two lovers must escape from a variety of strange and at times surreal characters who try to get in the way, complete with lots of rock and roll and filled with strange references to The Wizard of Oz.
Twin Peaks was fun because, every episode we get to discover what we are. Because we didn't know where the plot is going. We didn't know what the character's going to turn out to be. So it was very interesting for us.
Twin Peaks seamlessly blends several different genres into an ongoing story containing exceptional comedy, disturbing drama, and an ensemble full of diverse and colorful characters, being part soap opera, part supernatural murder mystery, part surrealist, and part unclassifiable.
A lot of the creators of the shows that I then went on to be part of, Sex and the City, for example, and now Desperate Housewives, the creators of those shows were heavily influenced by David's work. And I guess I'm probably the most identifiable person in that, and was open to the idea of working further in television. And so they really contacted me and said, would you like to join? And so they found me, and I'm happy to participate.
Unfortunately, it was cancelled after the second season, ending on an infamous cliffhanger. Not ready to give up, Lynch released a prequel film titled Twin Peaks: Fire, Walk With Me, which explored the events leading up to the series, taking a much darker and more surreal approach in its depiction of Laura Palmer as a tragic heroine, and hinting at possible closure for the show's biggest cliffhanger. However, it was to be a critical and commercial failure that would bring an end to Twin Peaks, although recently movements have surfaced seeking for Lynch and co-creator Mark Frost to revive the show. Lost Highway returns to Lynch's trademark of disturbing surrealism, which he established in Eraserhead, bringing about a comparatively straighter, but still increasingly puzzling story, which notably plays with narrative techniques, drawing the audience into one mystery only to abruptly change everything right down to the main character. Especially noteworthy is the ever-elusive Mystery Man. Some exceptional visual work is presented in making him appear unnerving. The pale face, the bulging eyes, the lack of eyebrows, and the camera constantly getting uncomfortably close.
The whole thing in the beginning happened to me. That the intercom buzzer went off early one morning. And a voice said, "David?" And I said, "Yes." And the voice said, "Dick Laurent is dead."
Dick Laurent is dead.
You know, it's a story about redemption, and there's this wonderful, loving relationship between the character I play, Rose, and him. I think it's about a man who's coming to the end of his life, and he wants to know that he's going to go with no great regrets.
The straight story couldn't be a more fitting title. This film shows Lynch playing against type by creating, of all things, a G-rated Disney film, a task at which he succeeds immensely, creating a simplistic but emotional and heartwarming journey of redemption and reconciliation. Nonetheless, it still manages to remain true to Lynch's style.
I think it was just the stubbornness of the character Alvin Strait, insisting on making this trip under very difficult circumstances that really caught my admiration and imagination.
You know, I'd be happy to drive you the rest of the way to Mount Zion. Be a nice Sunday drive for me and Darla. Now, we enjoy crossing the river, especially now with the trees in color.
Well, I appreciate that, but I want to finish this one my own way.
There seemed something very simple and sweet and willful and, you know, age be damned about it. It was great.
I had heard about it because Mary Sweeney, who was my girlfriend, I'd been talking about it for 3 years. And then she and her childhood friend John Roach wrote that script, and I read it and fell in love with it. And what I fell in love with, I think, was the emotion in that script. And emotion is an abstraction, and I wanted to see if I could get that emotion to come out of the film. It's a road that is locked sort of back in time, and a lot of it is anyway. It's kind of all by itself on the crest of the mountains, and there's many places where you can overlook, you know, either the valley or Los Angeles, you know, Hollywood down below, and it's very dark there at night. So the road, and it's curving, and it just gives you a feeling. It's a kind of a dream road.
Originally conceived as a television pilot, the rejection of Mulholland Drive prompted David Lynch to rework it into a feature film, which deconstructs the glamorous image of Hollywood, presenting a dreamlike world inhabited by a diverse array of characters that slowly turns into a nightmare. Out of all the movies that Lynch has made, Inland Empire may be the most difficult to sit through. In keeping with his usual style, the film takes on a dark, incomprehensible, dreamlike quality, and like Mulholland Drive, deals with the darker side of filmmaking. Specifically, the challenges faced by an upcoming actress, and her descent into surreal madness as a result of a demanding role. Also, interestingly, Lynch makes use of footage from an earlier project titled Rabbits, a series of short videos posted on his website featuring 3 rabbit-like people in a sitcom environment, interacting in the form of incoherent conversations. Lynch himself is especially fond in this movie, having organized a bizarre campaign to get Laura Dern to win the Oscar for Best Actress in a Leading Role. David Lynch has not directed a feature film since the release of Inland Empire in 2006. though he served as an executive producer to his daughter's film Surveillance in 2008, as well as My Son, What Have Ye Done, directed by his own idol Werner Herzog in 2009. The majority of his work since has been in the production of shorts, along with experimental projects and a few documentaries, including Duran Duran, Unstaged. His paintings have been exhibited and shown to wide audiences, and in 2011 he released a studio album titled Crazy Clown Time, which has an official video based on the title track. So far, there have been no announcements in regards to future movies Lynch plans to become involved with, but even if he never directs another feature film, much like Carpenter, Hitchcock, Kubrick, and Leone, David Lynch has left behind a distinguished body of work, films that are and will most likely continue to be loved, enjoyed, and discussed by viewers. If you are interested in seeing what he has to offer, the best place to start really depends on your own personal tastes. If you are looking for the disturbingly weird imagery for which Lynch is known, or are interested in his contributions to surrealism, you may be interested in looking at Eraserhead, Lost Highway, Mulholland Drive, and Inland Empire. On the other hand, if you would prefer to see an emotional drama with excellent characters, you will certainly fall in love with The Elephant Man and The Straight Story. If you'd rather see a well-written serial with a compelling story and likable characters, you will be sure to enjoy Twin Peaks. And if you'd like a creative, suspenseful thriller, you should try watching Blue Velvet. The most important thing to understand when looking at any David Lynch work, be it any of his paintings, movies, shorts, television shows, or web series, is that you should always watch it with an open mind, even if the deeper meanings of the work are not immediately clear. David Lynch is not simply a filmmaker. He is an artist.